Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Tatum,
you.
for being here. Again, it's such a privilege and an honour to have you here on our couch. We're going to be speaking a lot about racism and how you've experienced it and through your life and how it makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And we're two white girls, have never been the front foot of racism, and we will never really understand at all, and we will never feel the pain like you feel, but we care. And I never ever want to give up talking about it and giving up the conversation and changing the page, and as long as it takes. And so thank you for teaching us today through your experience and your emotion and your heart and the pain that you've felt and what wisdom you've been taught through that.
Yeah.
So do you want to tell us a little bit about your story and your journey? It's good.
Honestly, that is such a big blessing to hear that from going through my story, but to hear that from white women is just beautiful. So thank you for your hearts and your passion and your openness. It's a blessing to this world.
I think we're going to get emotional.
Yeah,
this is one of the first interviews I've always got teary on the first. You didn't answer the first question. Oh,
okay. So I am from Johannesburg, South Africa. We lived in a coloured neighbourhood, which was how it was. Black people lived in white neighbourhoods, black people in black, coloured in coloured.
Wow.
So until Nelson Mandela was elected president, everything changed, and my mum and dad decided for a better education that we would move to a white neighbourhood and attend a white private school. So this was the first time.
A big set.
It was massive. We were the only black people in the neighbourhood. We were the only two kids of colour at the school.
Wow.
It was huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I remember being spit on. I remember worms being put in my backpack, lunch being stolen. I remember this one time, I must have been there for like 2 weeks, and my the teacher was like, "Do you mind passing the scissors?" So we spoke English in the coloured neighbourhoods, but it was just a different kind of language. So we weren't as proper, and it was just more direct. And I had no idea what she meant. Like, I just could not. So I was just like, yes, and pass the scissors. And everyone starts laughing. And she's like, oh, you stupid girl. It's okay. It's not your fault. You just don't belong here. And ever from then, I was like, well, I'm not going to speak because I don't know how to.
Wow.
I don't do it right. So I remember hiding under the staircase at lunchtime and just wanting to disappear. Like, that was my prayer. Like, I just genuinely wanted to disappear.
Wow.
Another time was, we had this field across the road. My brother got jumped by a group of white boys, and they took a police baton and hit him on the head. So his story on racism is so much different because he was changed from that moment, and his journey was like very up and down. But that was a daily thing. The bus ride was just a daily torture and humiliation. We then moved to New Zealand, and we moved to this tiny little town outside of New Plymouth, like a farm town. Now, Johannesburg is like a big city.
Yes.
There's no farmland. It's just a massive city. So it was a massive adjustment again. And when we moved there, we were now the African bum scratchers, as they call us. And we were just, no one knew anything about South Africa enough to know that it was not what they pictured in their heads. So we were abused that way. We don't belong here. You just bringing our country down. Just go back to where you come from. And in that process, I had found ways of coping. So I became a tomboy, and I spoke a little bit, but not at all, and I just hid in my brother's shadows. Like, he was my shield of protection, and I would disappear behind him. And it wasn't until we moved to Auckland that all of a sudden I became this exotic, desired girl. For me, I had no self-worth. Like, none at all. I felt like crap. Like, I didn't think anything of myself. So getting that attention, just to keep it, I would compromise anything I valued. So unfortunately, I went down a bad line and started. This was in my teenage years. I mean, I couldn't even find foundation to match my skin tone. Like, it was just all a lot. In hormones and everything else. So I fell pregnant and decided to have an abortion. And that there was the moment of just rock bottom for me. I hid it for years. Like, my dad probably only found out last year. So I hid it I was so shameful, like I just hid it. And then everything that came out of me from that point was just messy and yuck and just gross. And I hit rock bottom when I came back from Rhythm and Vines, a 3-day festival, and I remember sitting in the shower and just crying. Like, I could not stop crying. I had got to the end of myself. I was so sick of being this person that I didn't know who I was. Like, I just created all these walls to cope with all the crap that was happening inside, and I just had no idea. I had no self-love. I feel like I actually hated myself.
Well, you've been told all these years that you weren't absolutely nothing.
And then I feel like the abortion just made that. It just sealed it. It was like, you are crap. Like, you're nothing. And so I walked around with that belief system, and when in the shower, I was like, oh God, I was just exhausted and just emotionally drained, and I was just at a point where I was going to go really badly, or I needed to just get my shit in and like get the stuff right, like it's now or never. So of course I started meditating. I became a vegetarian, doing massive runs. Like, I was listening to Buddhism. Like, I tried everything I could that was in my power
to bring
just
peace.
like some kind of something good.
You're searching for something.
And so I was feeling okay. Like, it was a nice little bandage on top of the crap that was happening underneath. But not long after that, I got married. And fell pregnant with my first baby, Shirley's. And it was a healthy pregnancy. Everything was good, but I lived in absolute fear. Like, I was convinced that the baby was going to be born I was going to have a stillbirth. Like, I didn't deserve this. Like, I didn't deserve happiness. It wasn't for me. I didn't deserve a good husband. How did I get that? I don't. Like, I was just messed up, right? So it wasn't until I gave birth that alright, I'm trying to hold it together.
No, don't.
You're
good. You're so fine.
When she was born, and she was just full, like, she was healthy, and that was when I was like, I think there's someone that sees me, like, someone wants to bless me. I don't know why, but he does. So sorry.
No, you're fine. It's good.
So from that point, we were like, okay, we're gonna dedicate this baby. We're gonna do things right. Like, I want to discover this person that gave me the best gift. So we dedicated Shirley's and we gave our lives to God.
Wow.
And life just changed, and the Bible was just like food. Like, it was my it was like I discovered something that just filled me, and it just gave me identity, and it just told me things that no one else had told me before.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
And so we moved to Sydney, and we found a church there, and I was on a journey, so I had another daughter, and then I realized, man, I have 2 black babies. And they're girls. And I knew my life, and I knew what I had gone through, and I was like, how am I going to make this different? How is their walk going to be more like easier? How is it going to be more full of love and not hatred?
Wow.
So I decided to start actually loving myself and not just pretending to love myself. So I started speaking to them about their heritage.
Wow.
I started wearing my hair curly and just embracing the African. Like I would literally I would not put African up. I would not.
Wow.
I didn't. I knew I was black, but I just like I didn't want to be.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, look what you've journeyed.
Like, I don't. But then I was like, okay, I have beautiful black babies. I want them to be solid in love and not fear.
Yeah.
So I made some changes, and along the way, some things had happened, and racism is in Australia, in South Africa, in New Zealand. It's everywhere.
Yes.
So God had spoken to me, and He put something on my heart about a women's event to bring women together.
Yeah, amazing.
From different walks of life and just connect.
Yeah.
And I ran with it. Like I had clear vision. It was. And I was never a person that could do this because of my just lack of self-worth and just, I didn't think I could do anything like this, but I was like, I'm doing it. And so I got called in for a meeting, and I was basically told that I should only get from the lady that I was in the meeting with said, I'm up here and you're down here. You need to get from me to give.
She's a white woman.
A white woman.
So here we go.
Here we go again.
I was after everything that you've walked through.
Yes. I'm like, seriously, I thought, and I was at peace with everything.
Yeah.
Like, and it was, I feel, when I look back at that moment, I feel like God just really wanted me to see that we are all people.
Yeah. Human.
And we are all human. And we all have crap.
Oh, yeah.
And we all live out of that crap if we don't properly heal from it.
Yes.
So, that was...
Wow.
Did you end up going from
I did the event.
You did?
Yes, you
Did
did.
you send the lady a text after being like, just FYI, it went really well, but thank you so much for your concern.
And lives were changed through that event.
Wow. Amazing.
And I've
Faithful.
just, so when we moved back, which was last year, I was in such a fuzzy headspace.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't long after that we moved back here.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, I'm just going to let it go. I deleted everything. Like, everything that I had from that event, I deleted it all and I just let it go. I was like, and I was back at square one. I was like, I was back at the beginning. And through COVID, I swear my relationship with God, he really, he pulled out some deep rooted lies.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the time that I got to spend with him without the distraction of church and what you do and what you don't do and how it looks and what what is all gone, and it was just him and I got to know my first father in a way that I knew him and I loved him, but this time it was
tangible, different.
Oh, yes.
He would have loved that time with you.
Yes.
He loves that time, hey?
It's the best.
Oh.
And just hearing you talk, I think, as well, is the power of words. You know, you look back at that story of that teacher when you were young, which, to be honest, she probably doesn't even remember. It it would have been a passing comment for her, but that one sentence she said to you has literally impacted your entire life.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Racism has been huge for you, and it is, I guess, formed your identity in a way that you've had to navigate. And here you are now. How do you feel? First of all, how do you not live in bitterness? But second of all, how How does that impact you on a day-to-day?
So how do I not live in bitterness?
You're like, really? I don't know.
I've realized the power of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I've also realized that soul to soul, we're the same.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is a journey.
Yeah.
And when things arise, you just get back to that space where you're like, oh, where are we? It is 2020.
Yeah.
And we are fighting for a life. Do you know, like we are fighting to be treated equally, and it's 2020. Really, it's wild to me. So, but forgiveness is definitely a journey, and understanding that we all have our crap, and that my soul is not less than anyone else's soul, and when it comes down to it. Nothing devalues the soul. Like you can do the worst thing and your soul is still of value to God. Of high value, the highest value. So navigating day to day with girls especially is tricky, because I do still get into comparison, and I still get into just the frustration of it all. But understanding that my identity lies in Him, and that's a journey as well. Because far out.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. What does racism mean to you?
Hatred. Racism is hatred. It is. We are humans. Like, how can what I look like change what you think of me? Without even knowing me. It's hatred, and it's the enemy's way of just putting a gap between humans, because it's within this gap that confusion and lack of understanding happens, and that's where we disconnect. So if there's no gap, we all the same. And you know,
that's amazing that you hold that truth. I feel like God's taught you so much about that, and that you're able to like understand that your soul's important. To be able, because He knows what goes on, and it absolutely breaks Him, and I know that it breaks Him, because when this whole Black Lives Matter movement happened and lots of the things kind of arose in the US, it's always been happening. However, obviously we've experienced things through the media, and there was this big uproar. I remember just absolutely being just like burdened by the pain of half the pain of what people of colour would actually be feeling, but for some reason I just absolutely got so raged I couldn't get out of it, and I said to God, what is this? Like, what are you trying to tell me? What do I need to try express as a white person? What do I need to be doing? And I just got this thing of, I'm just not doing enough for this. I was oblivious. I love people and I love humans, but I was so privileged in many areas because of the lack of thinking otherwise. And I remember just being so uproared about this and talking about it lots, and being on the center of my mind about how is this happening? How are people getting killed for their color of their skin? It's such a simple thing, but it's so complicated and deep, and there's so many layers. And I remember speaking to some other white people around in my sphere of community, and them not being at the level I was, and I couldn't understand of why they weren't at my level. I didn't understand why they couldn't think about anything else.
How are we even debating?
How are we even talking? How is this even? How are you even doing what you're doing? Why this is going on? Like something needs to shift. I remember having meetings and people, and it just was like this. One of the reasons why we even started Human As, because we realized, okay, there's a lot of people here, and a lot of people aren't having conversations, and God really just sunk that on my heart. And I just think that people do feel far away from it, but they're forgetting that it's humans. This is literally humans that this is happening to. This is humans doing it to humans. This is like, just because you might not be seeing it on the corner of your little street happening with cops and all of those things, doesn't mean it's not happening, and doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Because it's maybe up brawling in another country on the media doesn't mean that it's
100%.
Distant from you.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes Kiwis are actually distancing it.
Yeah.
And they're saying, don't believe everything you read on the media. I've had people say to me, I don't want to get into politics when I'm talking about it. I'm like, this is not... Since when did you think this was a politics thing? This has nothing to do with politics. This is to do with colour of the skin. And I serve a God that is devastated by what is going on. And I know that Jesus would be in there fighting for it and not giving up and testing the boundaries. And I don't understand why some people are silent. So I was going through that jungle. Anyway, to get to the point of why do you think that Kiwis are like that? Or why do you think that Kiwi singing has nothing to do with them? Do you, like, when you're outraged on it and then you meet a Kiwi sister and you're like, do you kind of... do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I do.
Why do we think that it's not as bad here?
Yeah.
I think because of the gap.
Yeah.
I think that these conversations,
Yeah.
right here, doesn't happen. People don't have these conversations.
No. You're right.
This is such a blessing to do this and to teach people this can happen at home.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, Kiwis need to have a look at your circle.
Yeah.
Is it diverse? Do you have different people that like different things, that listen to different music, that believe different things to you? Are you stretched?
Yeah.
Are you uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Why should we be comfortable?
Yeah.
Why should we not stretch ourselves to find out, hold on, what is the world like?
Yeah.
We're so
is the
PC
world?
sometimes,
Yeah. And it's being comfortable. It's being comfortable. And I think it actually comes down to the lack of understanding.
100%.
And I think that's actually what it's about. It's just the lack of understanding and I think there's been a big, it's hard, especially as white women. It's you're almost afraid to do anything, so then people don't. But I think it is actually a matter of stepping out, having these conversations that are uncomfortable and bringing it to light.
Yeah, I think people are afraid to say something, but then the people who are afraid are trying to be the heroes then. Because it's like, you can say something without saying Like, you can just be next to, you can comfort, you can stand for without being a know-it-all. So then, if you're trying to be a know-it-all, you're just the hero. So
and you're just
that wraps me up.
Stop stepping out from your privilege.
Yes, and wanting to say the right thing.
Yes.
Okay, so you're amazing.
We're getting Abby wrapped up, okay, guys? She's out.
I love it.
She is out.
I love it. The world needs more of that. More passion.
Well, you can help us.
More fearlessness.
Yeah, totally.
And just more uncomfortable conversations.
I agree.
They need to happen.
Yeah, totally.
They are... I mean, we can tell our kids, be kind. Accept all. If we are not showing our kids what that looks like, how are they going to do it?
Yeah.
Totally.
How are they need to hear the conversations.
And the truth of what happens and not protecting them from...
No.
Like, I remember when it was all happening in the media and Houston was kind of wondering what was going on and everyone was talking about this thing and would be talking about it and I just was honest with him because I know that it's heavy and I know that it's true, but I know that he's a little boy, but I know that he needs to know not just to love those of colour around them, but know that they get undervalued because of their skin at times, and to make sure that he knows that happens and not just to like include them and act like, kind of, people think that just because nothing's happening that we're making it a thing by making it a thing, but actually no, you're making sure by teaching him that happens around him. May not be at his school, but in other schools that's happening. So let's like make sure you're extra vigilant to make sure that's not happening. And if you see that that's not normal and not okay, it's untalked about, then it all grows up to be normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had people tap my daughter, she has afro hair.
Yeah.
Tap her hair and go, oh, it just feels just like a sheep. I mean,
Oh, come on.
Oh, come on.
and think that
She's
is
gonna want
okay.
to straighten her hair.
I 100%.
Yeah.
How does she? You have compared her to an animal, and you're okay with that. And
People.
I know, but just being able to say, hey, that's unacceptable, and pulling that up
And
as
knowing that's
black
not normal
people
for
is
her.
hard.
Yeah.
Because you're in a position where you're like, well, I don't want to offend you. I don't want you to feel uncomfortable around me. So I'm not going to pull you up on that
Yeah.
because I don't want you to feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then in the midst of it, I'm like, oh, Maddie, you're beautiful. Your hair's
Yeah.
amazing. But I've not stepped up and defended that. And so many times I beat myself up. I'm like, why am I so afraid of confrontation and the hard conversation? So luckily we've got to a place where we can just, say it as it is. But it's,
Wow.
What do you think Jesus thinks about racism?
oh, he hates it.
Yeah.
It's from the enemy.
Yeah.
It's full of fear.
Yeah.
There's no love in racism.
No.
Yeah.
I feel like Jesus flips tables. We think of him
Yes.
a certain way. He's a table flipping Jesus.
Yeah.
He stands up for injustice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So good.
When I think of the story of the bleeding woman, I love this story because when he was on his way to heal a rich girl, a rich little girl who was dying, and the bleeding woman who was like, she was bleeding and she was a woman, like that was just unheard of, touched him. He turned around and he said that's the first time in the Bible, one of the times in the Bible, I think it's the only time that God said, he gave identity. He said, daughter,
Wow.
you are healed. And the other little girl passed away. But he made sure that in that moment, the lady that was bleeding, that no one wanted to touch,
Yes.
had his attention.
Yes.
He was there in that moment. He healed the little girl, but he was there. He was in it. And everyone would have been like, what are you doing? This is a nobody. She's bleeding. She's a woman. Why what are you doing? He was amongst it. He was not
so
afraid
true.
of confrontation.
No.
He stood firm with his integrity and his love. He loved first, always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always, always, always. And we are failing to do that.
We actually are failing to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when it comes to racism, you're actually failing to love. And so, and see beyond everything when you're judging somebody by their appearance, or in any aspect of judge.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to white Kiwis when it comes to racism?
Yeah.
You tell us. You tell us. Hit us up. Hit us with it.
Oh, us!
I think a challenge would be to expand your circles.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's really good.
Invite someone that's not like you over for dinner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Invite the kids. Get amongst it.
Yeah.
Make
Yeah.
it normal.
Yeah.
Make it. Talk about the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Bring it up. Ask questions.
Yeah.
I had a girlfriend in Australia. She emailed me recently. I was her only black friend. I'm like, that's wild, but okay. And she asked me all these really intense questions. And I was so blessed by it.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect. I mean, some people could have been offended. But I was like, the fact that you are willing to learn and hear me says a lot about your character and your heart. So I answered the questions and I encouraged her. I'm like, there's growth from this. God wants this. This is the stuff that matters.
Yeah. Amazing.
So soft fronts. Always keep a soft heart, soft posture.
Wow.
To each other.
Yeah.
That's amazing advice.
So good. So good. So, our favourite part.
Favourite part. And we're going to look into this
Into the camera, but you're going to thank whoever you like.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to thank my husband gone. No, you're good.
You're all good.
We met when we were 16, so he was there from the gross all the way up till the growth. And Reagan, humility is, if there were a person, like it's just in you, and strength and encouragement. And when they say that it takes 7 encouraging words to undo one bad word, I feel like I've finally come to a place of just being full on good words because you have spoken so much goodness into me, and just always been in my corner and always had my back, and always encouraged me and pushed me and challenged me, and life is richer. And it's God's greatest blessing that He's given me a husband just so amazing. So, thank you. All the good words. Okay, hug me. Come on.
You